in this amazing story, and I want you to turn in your Bibles to Mark chapter 16, 1010, page 1010 in your Bibles. And I just want to walk you through this story because I think there is a little summary, a little outline, little formula for a big issue, which is what is a believer? What is a Christian? And the reason I'm taking this up right now is because I want those of you who say, this is my faith, I want you to understand what we mean when we say we are Christian. Those of you who are thinking about the Christian faith, investigating it, this is what it means to say I'm a Christian. You will want to know these things before you fully embrace it. And those of you who are pushing back on Christianity, maybe you were dragged here this morning by a loving relative, I want you to know what you're pushing back on. And there are four things that I find in this story. There are other things that Christians believe, but these are kind of the big points of what it means to be a believer. So let's just walk through the story. And when we get to the part about the young man, the angel that's there in the tomb with the white robe and his speaking, what he talks about, and you'll see it once I point it out, is essentially a summary, a 4-point summary of what the Christian faith is. And I invite you to look at it with me. So we begin with verse 1. When the Sabbath was over, 3 women, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, who is actually the mother of Jesus as well, that's Mary, the Virgin Mary, and Salome, they bought spices with the intention of going and finishing the work. It was so important in Jewish tradition to get the corpse of Jesus into the tomb before the sunset at the Passover, just before the Passover, so they just did that in a real hurry, and they were coming back to do kind of the cleanup work. But they really didn't think of everything. Maybe it was in their grief, they didn't think things through. In their deep sorrow, they didn't really understand the implications of what they were doing, because they get close to the tomb and they don't know how to get the big stone of the tomb rolled away. This is a stone that's probably 6 feet in diameter. It's maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet wide. It's like this giant donut without a hole that rolls in front of the opening of this cave where they put the body. Maybe weighed 1.5 tons, 2 tons of limestone. I've seen replicas of it in the Holy Land. But you would understand that 3 women cannot move 2 tons. So they wondered about this. And as they approach, you can tell that they're in despair because they're looking down. Why do you say they're looking down? Because they look up to see that the stone is rolled away. So when they look up, they see that this stone that they hadn't really thought about is actually not a problem for them. And then they walk inside the tomb and they see a young man. Well, what we're not told here is that it's probably an angel. A vision, an angel in a white robe who's on the right, and they are startled. The word is alarmed here, and the angel says, look, don't be alarmed. And then he says 4 things. He says, you are looking for Jesus the Nazarene. Now, I just want to stop for a moment and think about that with you, because when he says you're looking for Jesus the Nazarene, what he's talking about is not the Son of God. He doesn't say the Son of God. He doesn't say the miracle worker. He says you're looking for the man who had a hometown in Nazareth, who had a home address, who was as human as you and I are, you and I, here in this room. That's who you're looking for. You're looking for Jesus the man. And a Christian believes that Jesus was a man. This is not just a philosophy that somehow got started. This is all centered around the teaching and the person of an individual named Jesus Christ. He had a hometown, Nazareth. He was born in Bethlehem. He lived out his 33 years. He was crucified. We're talking about that guy. And the interesting thing about Jesus is that he is and was a friend of sinners. That's you and I. He is somebody that came alongside of people in their weakness or sometimes in their strength. And he put his arm around them and walked with them a little bit in their life. And it didn't matter who they were. He wasn't some politician that would only deal with people at the upper echelon. And he wasn't a beggar that just was comfortable with people at the bottom. He had a heart and a love for everybody. You know this to be true. The rich and the poor, the weak and the strong, the military, the centurion, the commanders, the top governors and politicians, as well as the tax collectors and prostitutes and lepers and the crippled. Jesus came alongside them. A pastor a couple of centuries ago actually counted the number of people that Jesus was connected to. He counted them up in the New Testament. A surprising number is 153 people. I have 300 friends on Facebook. Actually, I don't. I'm trying to get to 300. But every time I get close to 300, people actually unfriend me. Okay? It's true. I was up to 299 just last week, and then I looked this morning, 295. 295. Facebook will not tell you who unfriends you, but I think I know. I guess I'm not one of those people want to be friends with. But not so with Jesus. He came alongside of people and he loved them, he walked with them. Let me pause for a moment and talk to the parents. Those of you who have children, young children, elementary school age, junior high, middle school, high school, senior high. Who do you want your children to be friends with? What kind of person do you want them walking alongside their life? Now, the idea here behind this is that Jesus can be their friend. And when they get in trouble, and when they need counsel, when they need comfort, you can't always be there. When they need to embrace a moral truth that will help them in this life, I want you to know that if your child knows Jesus, they've got a friend for life. And I want to say something here on behalf of our children's ministry and our student ministry. Let's do this together. Let's find a way of bringing Jesus into the equation of your child's life. We have an incredible children's ministry, a growing and wonderful youth ministry, and I want very much for you to know about that. If you have at all interest, this is a tiny commercial. Right after this service, we'll invite you into the fellowship hall, and you can meet some of our youth people, some of our children's minister, and pick up some information about that. But it's very clear that when the angel said this to Mary and Salome, he was saying, look, you're looking for the friend that you know. And indeed, what I'm saying, Christians believe that Jesus is a friend. He was a friend. But to go on, this angel says, not only that, but this friend of yours, Jesus the Nazarene, the one who had the address, who had a home, had a hometown, he was crucified. This is the second thing that Christians believe. That Jesus was executed, that they, the government officials, the religious leaders, all conspired against him to stretch his arms on that cross and die. But we also know that that death was not meaningless, that in fact Jesus offered himself.
To make a monetary gift that supports the ministries of Christ Church Plano, visit christchurchplano.org.